Our guest today is Mikhil Pandey. Mikhil is co-founder and chief strategy officer at Persistence Labs, building, I think, Persistence One, a purpose-built layer one on a mission to maximize yield and security through liquid staking and restaking. Of course, we'll talk all about this today. Welcome to the show, Mikhil.
Hey Andy, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here and talk about liquid staking, restaking, what we're building.
Awesome. Exciting to have you here, Mikhil. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It'd be cool if you could please introduce yourself. Be great if you could tell some of your story, your professional and personal backstory, what you've been doing in the lead up to co-founding Persistence Labs.
Yeah, absolutely. So hey everyone, I'm Mikhil, and for me, I started building in crypto in 2019, and I'm an engineer by background. So I studied engineering from India and in Mumbai, where I am from, and had a keen interest in two things: sports and products. Sports in particular, football. I'm a huge not the rugby, it's the soccer for people in different parts of the world. So I'm a huge fan of football. Spend most of my college doing either products or playing football. uh, I would say like 60-40, 60 towards football, 40 towards product in terms of time split. And we kind of stumbled upon, Ethereum in 2019, early 2019, and started, that was my final year of engineering, and I was looking to do something with my project. And uh, because you have these final year projects, and I started looking at Ethereum as a thing, and smart contracts got me super excited because as an engineer, you see something like that, and there are people talking about reimagining the financial world. At the time, DeFi wasn't the thing actually; it was open finance, transparent finance, all those things. So it got me super excited, and that's kind of why I started diving deep into crypto. And yeah, I met Tushar, who's my co-founder in 2019, and we decided to start working on persistence. At the time, Tushar was sold on a completely different idea. He had a different background. He was a VC, and he came from a venture capital background, which meant he had seen different things. And for him, what was super exciting was to bring real world assets on the blockchain. That's where we started in 2019. In 2020, we soon realized, okay, real world assets is a very slow thing, because you have to interface with the real world. And the moment you have to interface with the real world, things don't move at the same pace as they could otherwise. So we kind of worked on it for a bit, but realized this is not going to lead to any product market fit. This does not have any product market fit. And that's when in 2020 we decided to move towards liquid staking. So again, most of the team members at Persistence Labs early on 2019 were like big Cosmos believers. When we were choosing to bring real world assets on chain, for us there were a few questions we had to answer, and one of them was, where do we build this? And the real answer stood in, okay, because I had decent understanding of Ethereum, Tushar had a good understanding of Cosmos and the broader market, and other members in the team had strong understanding of the Cosmos tech stack. We kind of chose to go ahead with Cosmos because it allows you to build sovereign app chains. You can do things that you cannot do on any other blockchain. If you're bringing real world assets on chain, you might as well build it in a way where you can customize the stack, you can change things. You want privacy, you want only a certain set of validators validating the blockchain. Whatever you want to do, you can do it on a customized blockchain. That's why we started building in Cosmos. So most early team members we have, we still have those members in the team, and they were kind of like participating in Cosmos testnet, seeing how to get the Cosmos hub live, all those things. So with our understanding of Cosmos and bringing real world assets on chain, we started building in 2019, late 2019, I would say. And then 2020 was more about fundraising, surviving. It was very difficult to survive during the 2019, 2020 period, right? Because of COVID and the market being really bad. We weren't able to raise any funds. We somehow kind of managed to survive by running some validator nodes on specific chains with a high commission to just sustain our operations, just keep lights on. And soon after, we were able to raise some capital, and we were thinking, okay, this real world thing is not going to play out. So what do we do next? And that's kind of when we started looking at liquid staking in a big way, and decided to build liquid staking. So we were early into POS, we were early into liquid staking. At the time, Lido hadn't blown up to become what it is today, right? Lido was just an idea at the time when we were thinking about doing liquid staking. But for us, it was about doing liquid staking within Cosmos. Because while our time building in Cosmos made us realize the future of blockchains is this. It's not Ethereum. It's not, any other blockchain. It's not near Algorand, Avalanche. It is Cosmos, because every chain can operate as an independent chain, and that was a beautiful idea. I think Cosmos has been ahead of the curve for all its time, right? Because while bridges were not even getting hacked, nobody was talking about bridges. Cosmos was thinking about IBC, was thinking about things like how do different blockchains communicate. So again, liquid staking doing it for Cosmos because we had a belief that Cosmos will scale to multiple chains, and if we do liquid staking for Cosmos Hub itself, we can do the same thing for 20 other chains, in fact, 50 other chains, 100 other chains down the line. So we were the first liquid staking provider for Cosmos for Atom back in 2021. This was pre-IBC. Cosmos did not have IBC, did not have osmosis. And soon after, we saw decent traction throughout 21, 22. The TVL was around 60 mil or so until the Terra collapsed. And we realized, okay, now is the time to kind of deprecate this product and build a new fresh product. Because when we first built SDK Atom, it was as an ERC20 product, issuing the liquid stake token on Ethereum, because Cosmos, there was nothing in Cosmos to be done. So kind of issued it on Ethereum and then came back to Cosmos in 2023. So issuing the liquid staked version of the token on the persistence chain after Cosmos had decent tech to support that. So again, yeah, for us, we've done staking, liquid staking, and now kind of moving towards restaking, because that's where the yields in when it comes to liquid stake token holders, that's where they can generate those yields from. But yeah, personally, yeah, big believer in, I think one is I held Ethereum more than BTC. So never kind of like, started looking into Bitcoin. Personally, was a big fan of Ethereum because of the, like the whole smart contract idea and the ability to build something on a blockchain from scratch and like programmable money. That was very exciting to me. Today, I'm a little bit different. I believe more in Bitcoin than any other thing. But yeah, sports, football in particular, played a lot in university, and then worked a lot around products and crypto. Those are three things I do, and yeah, very excited to be doing that.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mikhil. And man, there was a lot to take in there. A few different directions we can take this conversation, I can see. But man, I love the idea that you've kind of come back to Bitcoin. You've got a really strong thesis on Cosmos. Maybe just it also just be useful just to get you to just really briefly, yeah, kind of explain, I guess, the difference between staking, liquid staking, restaking, why it's important to any particular chain, yeah, some of the problems that have perhaps kind of arisen, and how you see that unfolding, particularly with Cosmos and what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think very good question. Staking in very simple terms is when you have some assets you hold. Let's say you have Atom that you hold. So now, there's proof of work, proof of stake. Proof of work is how, Bitcoin mining happens. Bitcoin mining is an example of proof of work, a proof of work chain where a validator or a miner is doing the work by, running the infrastructure to produce a block and mine some Bitcoin. That's mining. So validators or miners participate in network consensus. They produce blocks where the block has the transaction data. Okay, there's 20,000 transactions happening on the blockchain. How do you, sequentially post the data in a block? How do you post that data then on the chain? Who all agree on the data? That's the process of validation or mining. Now, the process of block production can happen through miners or validators. Proof of stake is where users lock up their assets on the blockchain to be able to participate in network consensus and governance, which means to produce blocks, a validator needs to have some stake. They need to say, okay, I have some assets at stake. If I do a mistake or if I do something malicious, I will also take a hit, just like everybody else in the system. So that's proof of stake in very simple terms. But proof of stake has a lot of limitations, because if you take the example of staking Atom, you have atoms. You as an Atom holder, you go on the Atom blockchain and you see there's 200 validators running nodes. These validators are the ones who produce blocks and participate in network consensus. So you see, okay, there are 200 validators. Maybe I do not have the technical capability to run a validator node. What I do is I then just lock up my 100 atoms with a validator called Everstake, for example. I see Everstake as a high quality validator. I say, okay, I'll stake my 100 atom with Everstake. So now Everstake has more voting power in the network. But what you do as a user is you actually lock up your 100 atoms, which means your 100 atoms are going to be locked there. So when tomorrow, if atom goes from $10 to $100, and you're like, okay, I don't want to, keep holding this forever. I may want to take some profits. What you then do is you pull out some assets. You click on unbonding. You want to sell some tokens. When you click on unbond, you don't get your assets back immediately. You have to wait for 21 days, which is what the problem is because you don't have instant liquidity. At the same time, when you stake your assets, you cannot do anything beyond that. You're not earning any additional yield. That's it. You earn the staking rewards and that's it. So that's where liquid staking comes in, where when you deposit your atoms with a liquid staking provider, they do the staking for you in the background. They decide which validators to stake with, or they let you decide which validators to stake with. But what they do is they issue you a liquid stake token, which is a receipt. It's like if you park your car, you get a valet ticket. This valet ticket, whoever holds this valet ticket has access to the car at the end of the day, right? So if you, Andy, park your car, you get a valet ticket and you give me the valet ticket and you're like, Mikhil, you can get the car whenever you want, so that's kind of how the liquid stake token works, which means you don't have to wait for these 21 days anymore. Because if you want to sell atoms at 100, you want to sell, you're like, okay, I'll just sell this receipt to somebody's going to give me that 100 into 100, which is whatever that amount is, dollars, and that's it. Then you don't have the underlying atom. I have the underlying atom. I can go on the blockchain and unbond it for 21 days and get you know atoms back. So that's liquid staking. Now restaking is a completely different beast because staking is about securing the chain. It's about network security. How do you add security to the network? Because more the stake on the network, higher the security of the network. So if all the people in the world decide to stake all their assets, obviously that will never happen. You cannot see 100% asset stake, but let's say 70% of the supply of a token is staked. That means it's a highly secure network. It's hard to attack that network because of the Byzantine fault tolerance mechanism that most chains have, which is, you know, this whole idea about 66% tax, 33% tax. We don't need to go into those details, but staking is about security of the chain. Now, what restaking allows you to do is you say it's a huge asset class. Let's say Ethereum, it's a huge asset. Same as Atom. Atom is obviously a few magnitudes smaller than Ethereum, but it's still a decent asset class. So you take Atom, which is already staked, or ETH, which is already staked, securing the Ethereum network, and you say, why don't we use the staked asset to secure another service or chain which is smaller in size and may need that economic security? Because every chain needs economic security. So when I say economic security, what do I mean by that? When we said 100 atom stake, if that 100 atom is worth $10,000, that $10,000 worth of atom is added as an economic security to the chain. So if the total size of an asset is, let's say, 4 billion and 70%, 80% of the supply is staked, it's like two and a half, three, four, $3.5 billion worth of economic security. So whatever the dollar value of assets are staked, you multiply that with the staking ratio, which is the number of assets staked. So again, not going too much into the details, complexities, but restaking is about using staked assets to again stake it to secure something else. That's in simple terms restaking. So it's more about liquid staking was more about capital efficiency. How do we create a receipt which can then be used to do more and more exciting things? So with the receipt or with the LST, you go on a money market, you put this as collateral, you borrow against it. You with restaking, instead of using the LST to borrow against it, you put it on another. You decide, okay, I'm going to restake it to secure a new service chain or a service, or a Oracle, whatever that looks like, a contract, and I'm going to get more yields because I'm securing this other chain. So in a way, liquid staking and restaking are kind of similar because with liquid stake tokens, you can do different things. You can leverage up, you can do yield farming and stuff like that. With restaking, you can secure another service and get additional yield. So I think that's short difference between staking, liquid staking, restaking.
Yeah, and you guys basically, your thesis is that proof of stake is everything, and eventually everything will be restaked. So you talk about this on your website. You see a future where liquid staking and restaking becomes essentially the base value layer in crypto, and that may or may not be the case. But kind of the Ethereum guys have. There's what you probably know more about this than I do, Mikhil, but there's a proposal on Ethereum at the moment, isn't there, to essentially increase the supply of Ethereum, because the problem is if everyone stakes their ETH, then that's going to cause problems down the line, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if everybody stakes their ETH, that's still fine. As long, I don't think ever everybody will stake their ETH, right? Because when you stake your ETH or you liquid stake your ETH, you pool it with you pair it with the other side, and pool, you bring it in a pool, put it in a pool to farm some. So again, I don't think there would be a time where we would see like everything as staked assets. Historically speaking, the most, I think, Cosmos is one of the most resilient blockchains. Tezos
Yeah.
was another one, early blockchains in terms of POS. And they have delegated proof of stake, which is, if I don't have the technical capabilities to run the node, I can stake my assets with somebody who has the technical capability. So I don't need to do anything. But Ethereum does not have that. Ethereum is a different, model where there is no delegation inbuilt into the protocol. So you have to run your own infrastructure, right? So again, that makes it so much more complex for everybody to
Mm.
just take it. That's kind of why people go to Lido. That's kind of why people go to
Yeah.
Renzo, Puffer, EtherFi, right?
Exactly right.
Uh,
Well, I'd love to hear again your Cosmos thesis. So, yeah, I mean, Cosmos is, I guess, the internet of blockchains. But yeah, why are you so convinced that Cosmos is the way forward?
I think, so again, when I say Cosmos is the way forward, there's two ways to look at it. I'm
Hmm.
not talking about Atom or the Cosmos Hub. I'm talking about the thesis, the idea of what the cosmos of blockchains looks like, which is, you have Celestia today. Celestia there's a lot of hype around Celestia not too long ago, right? Uh, why did Celestia choose to build the Cosmos tech stack? Or why does DYDX choose to build with a Cosmos tech stack? Cosmos is more about the tech stack than anything else. It's about all the different chains that use the same SDK to build their chain and do different things. SDK is the software development kit. So there's a Cosmos software development kit. Every different chain can use the same development kit to build standardized chains. There's different chains which follow the same standards, which makes it so much more easier for each of them to interact with each other. Solana, Ethereum, to interact with each other is such a pain. You have to use different bridges. You have to use trust. There's no trustless bridging between Solana, Ethereum. There's trust minimized bridging, and there's you know trust based bridging, which is through different bridges. But with Cosmos, you have this SDK that allows you to have every chain to have the same staking logic. So if you want assets to be staked, you can use Comet BFT, which is the consensus engine. Every chain can use the same consensus engine. But if you think you can optimize and get some better outputs, you can change the consensus engine. If you want to transfer assets from one chain to another, you use IBC. If you don't want to use IBC, you don't want to connect with other blockchains, you do not need to have IBC. You can disable things. So there are so many customizations that you can do at every layer of the stack, right? Like if you talk about Monad, what is Monad? Then they've changed the consensus mechanism, right? They have like a 2 round consensus instead of 3 round consensus with Monad BFT. They introduced parallelization. They made changes to the DB, call it Monad DB, and then they have deferred execution and stuff like that. So again, what Monad has done, they built a blockchain from scratch to make these optimizations. But with Cosmos SDK, if you're building with the Cosmos SDK, you kind of get like the consensus layer sorted, which is Comet BFT. You don't have to make anything new there. You kind of get, like the execution environment sorted. You can use Cosm, Wasm as a VM, for example, or you could just build modules, different modules, different modules. So in a way, when we talk about the modularity thesis, the thesis around interconnections of blockchains, all of that already exists in Cosmos. So the reason why for us Cosmos makes the most amount of sense is also because our bet is that there will be multiple chains. Each chain will need security. That's where restaking comes in. Each chain will have its own asset, that is stakeable. You can do liquid staking for each of those chains. So in a way, you're kind of betting on horizontal scaling of blockchains where there's so many blockchains, each of them are peers blockchains. The addressable market is huge enough for you to become a sizable player in that industry, in that market. And at the same time, each of these chains are going to need security. So how do they get security? Is through restaking. So that's what we are betting on.
Yeah. All right. It makes sense. Give us a sense of how that I guess mission is going in terms of what people are doing on Cosmos at the moment. How many people are starting to stake their assets, and what you guys are doing to help that process along. What do you expect to happen, and yeah, how's it all rolling out?
Yeah, so I think a very good question. I would say Cosmos so far hasn't seen what it needs to see in terms of traction as an ecosystem, because there's not enough people liquid staking yet, or even forget restaking. Restaking is much further down the line, but liquid staking hasn't happened yet enough. I think less than like 1-2% of all Atom supply is liquid stake today, which is crazy if you think about it. Maybe 2%, less than 2% of all Atom supply stake today, liquid stake today. So again, the number is so small. You compare that to Ethereum, it's already quite big. So again, the reason why we chose to build liquid restaking is actually very different to why others in the industry have chosen to build restaking. It's not because we see that there is a lot of demand for chains to borrow security. It's because we see the Cosmos ecosystem token holder base as a set of people who like to do certain things and who really do not like to do certain things. So as an Atom holder, for example, what I see is after being in the Cosmos ecosystem for about 5 years now, Atom holders are just passive players. They like to stake, forget, farm some airdrops. They're happy with that. They don't want to use Atom as collateral to borrow against it, get liquidated in the process of trying to do those. So they are very risk averse people. So how do we cater to these people? What do they know? They know staking. They understand slashing risks. They know there's a downtime slashing of 0.01%. There's a, you know, double sign slashing of 5%, and that's the best. That's as much as they can get slashed. So what we are doing right now is building restaking where all these token holders, Atom holders, other TIA holders, any Cosmos chain asset holder, Osmo holders, they can basically liquid stake their tokens and then restake it. But when they restake it, the risk that they take is the same as taking risks, which is okay, slashing. That's it. Downtime, double slash. That's pretty much it. Obviously, there's two layers of risk now, but they know that on most Cosmos chains, slashing does not happen in a big way. Double sign slashing is very rare. So they know the risks. They know how to make this work. So again, for us, the objective is to now kind of push these Atom holders or Cosmos token holders in a direction where they start taking these risks or they start using their assets to do exciting things. And that's the first step. After that is when they start doing 20,000 things. I think in Cosmos today, there's probably Osmosis. That's the only chain that has real users, and it's the most widely used DEX. Everything else is still a work in progress. But I do think restaking, once it's introduced in the proper way, it kind of enables a huge market for liquid staking in itself. So that's our bet.
Yep. All right. Makes sense. Look, as we finish up this part of the podcast, Mikhil, can you just direct people to where they should go if they want to look at what you guys are doing at Persistence Labs, what you're building with Persistence One? What should people do? Where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to our website. That's the best place, obviously, or our Twitter. Our website is persistence.one, and Twitter is just persistence one, not just persistence one. You can check out the products that we have live today, which is pstake.finance and dexter.zone. Pstake is the liquid staking protocol. Dexter is where we build liquidity for the liquid stake tokens. There's a restaking product coming up, the URL for which I can tell you once the product goes live. But yeah, you can check us out on Twitter or X, or on our website. And We have a Telegram chat, a Telegram community, which is super active. So feel free to join that. You can find the link to that through our website or our Twitter. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And of course, links to the website are in the show notes, listeners. I think what we do now, Mikhil, is we'll go to a very quick break and then we'll come back, we'll finish off, we'll have some fun by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Back in 1 second. And boom, we are back. And I'm with Mikhil Pandey. Mikhil is the co-founder and chief strategy officer at Persistence Labs, building Persistence One. Purpose-built layer one, Cosmos, on a mission to maximize yield and security through liquid staking and restaking, as we've learned today. Mikhil, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it, Mikhil. Just going to run some questions at you. Just want you to answer them kind of hot take style. I guess question one for you would be, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I think in this moment, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist.
And I'd like you to explain why, or why. Yeah, what you mean.
I think for the longest time, I've seen people talk about institutions coming in, but that has never happened. Today, for the first time, you can actually see institutions coming in. Every time we used to meet people at conferences, they'd be like, "Yeah, we're looking into dabbling into BTC. Not yet, not allocated." Today, they are allocated. But the most important thing is this development happening on Bitcoin, which I've never seen happening, which is a very scary part. Today, when you see development happening on the Bitcoin network, it's so beautiful to see people building things, and that kind of makes me super bullish on the ecosystem as a whole, because if BTC does well, everything else does well, right?
Yep. Very, very well articulated. Thank you, Mikhil. What would you say then is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
I think my firmest conviction is that liquid staking does become kind of like the base. Liquid stake tokens become the base or the default assets of transaction within crypto. Not many people will hold naked, native tokens. They'll hold liquid stake tokens.
Yep. Nice. Okay. Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So I guess, 10 years time, it's a long time in blockchain, whatever you want here, proof of stake, Cosmos, Bitcoin, Web3, anything you like. What does it look like in 10 years time?
I think in 10 years, probably the industry is a lot more mature, hopefully. I think maybe 10 years ago people said that, and it's probably still not that mature. But I think from 10 years from now, I would really want to see, blockchains have real use cases. Every chain serving I think there'll be multiple chains. Every application could potentially be a chain. We would have solved the problem of fragmented liquidity across all these different blockchains. We would have found a way to interact with all these different blockchains in a most trustless way so that hacks don't happen. So I think purely from a security perspective, having like better standards for security in this industry as a whole, that would be something I would want to see in the next year, in fact. But I think realistically speaking, in the next 10 years, that's where I see the industry, where there's multiple blockchains interconnected with each other. Every blockchain is somehow connected to Bitcoin, doing something with the Bitcoin, and yeah, and
Yep.
something like that.
Nicely said. Okay. William Gibson, he, of course, is a sci-fi author, and he famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Mikhil, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
I think it is Cosmos, to be honest. If people start looking into Cosmos, they realize the future is already here. We've always been ahead of the curve with IBC, restaking actually introduced in Cosmos with interchain security. Actually, probably started Polkadot with shared security. It's a form of restaking, but I think the interchain world, I would say Polkadot, Cosmos, that's the future in a big way.
Yep. All right. Very nice. And it brings us to our final question, which is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
I'm actually not that much into science fiction. Maybe I'm actually not much into fiction at all, to be honest. I like reality.
Fair enough, Mikhail. That is absolutely fair enough. Reality is, yeah, well, strange enough for most of the time, I reckon. Hey, look, this is fun. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Mikhail. Again, just take us out by shouting out the Persistence websites and your own Twitter X handle. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, so the Persistence one is the Twitter handle for the Persistence Labs, and you can check out our website, persistence.one. You can find me on Twitter as well. It's my last name, first name, so Pandey Mikhil, as it is, no changes, no full stop, nothing. Yeah, you can find me. I'm generally very much available on Telegram, Twitter. My Telegram is the same as my Twitter as well. You can DM me on Twitter or Telegram, and I'm usually very quick to respond, so you can expect a response if you DM me.
And what football teams are you supporting?
Oh, you've asked the wrong question. I'm a United fan,
Yeah.
Manchester United. I've been going through a lot of pain with that for a while.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, best of luck with persistence. Best of luck with your personal and professional football and football fandom careers. But it is bye for now.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you taking the time.
All right, there you go. There was, Mikhil from Persistence. Definitely a football fan, not much of a sci-fi fan, but that's okay. That's okay. Fascinating character. Very interesting indeed. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We reached the end of another episode, and that is it for today, folks. Thank you very much. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. Bye for now. See ya.